of these types that you're hopefully have a pretty good idea, grasp of it. Chances are it doesn't show up, but you're still learning, how to do regressions, because if they give you the points, you know how to type it in, right? L1, L2, all that. Okay, so we're doing 2 and 1, and word problems in general, that's usually heavy. So a boat is propelled by a paddle wheel with a diameter of 12 feet. Each paddle, right, takes 70 seconds to make one complete revolution. That is your period right there. Okay, one revolution, one spin. The end of one paddle reaches a minimum height of 3 below the water after the boat is in motion for 8 seconds. So it's telling us what the minimum is and when that point is reached. Like it's actually at 8 seconds. It started at 0 at some point, but somehow this person is just starting at 8 seconds. Like that's when I'm on the minimum for sure. Okay. So determine the sinusoidal. So I would like you to have this. Just be very careful when you come up with these numbers. We know that the minimum is 3 feet below the water. So we're going to go with 3 feet negative because it's below the water. And then I'm going to use my diameter, right? I'm going to use my diameter to get me to the top because, right, the difference between the top and bottom is the diameter of the wheel. So this would be 9. Okay. And then the mid would be, if you add this, that gives you 6 divided by 2 gives you 3. So 3 positive. And you notice that there's a 6 difference here, and there's also a difference of 6 there. So you know that at least the midline is where it's supposed to be. All right, 1 mark for that one, if you got that right. I'm going to make this out of 3. It just makes it easier to mark for you guys. And then I'm figuring out this way, right? So my period is 70. So the X scale is 70 over 4. And that gives me 17.5 seconds, right? So I'm jumping every 17.5 seconds. And so where do you start? We are told that we're starting at the minimum in this scenario, right? We're saying at 8 seconds I'm here. That means that 70 seconds later, which means 78, right? In the story, that's 78 since the beginning, you're back to the low. So I'm going to up it by this time every time. So we know that this is the progression. And so if you add, you get 25.5 here. You get 43 at the top, 60.5 here. And then if you add, then you should get to 78. So I like students, if they know the period, to add and predict what it's going to be here. And then do the scale so that if you go with the scale, you should actually end up with 78. Okay? All right, so let's do our time and height, I guess. It's probably a good idea to do this, 8, so forth. I'm just going to show you the key at this point. I think coming up with those numbers is important. So you set up your X and your Y. This is the equation there, so I'm just going to zoom into that. I'm having issues. I need more paper. I seem to run out of space consistently there. So that is the equation that you're supposed to get if you got everything else right. So we're going to say this. Let me just zoom out. 1 mark for the Y's, 1 mark for the correct X values, and 1 mark for the correct equation. That being said, let's say you get this wrong, you get your X values wrong. You get 2 out of 3, provided you actually show me how you're coming up with your equation. Or you get this one wrong. Somehow you didn't get this one right. You lose a mark for the Y's, so you still get 2 out of 3 if you show us the equation. Okay. So that's how I will mark it today. The province sees it as a 2-mark question, usually. So I do think that some of my questions are usually a bit more work than theirs, but so the important thing is, okay, listen carefully. If you started up here at time 8 and then you go this way, you are actually not far off, but this this one right here where my pencil is hovering, the C value will be different. You're shifting this whole thing sideways to make it fit that story. You know what I mean? So it will look almost the same, but the C value will be different. Okay? 3 marks there. And then for the sketch, at this point I didn't ask you to start at 0, so I basically just came up with a scale here that made this work. I made sure 78 fits for one cycle, so I'm actually going to 100, and then I have my scale according to my min, mid, and max here, and I just plot it and make sure it's symmetric, and don't forget to have your equation as part of your labeling. And there you have it. 3 marks for the graph. You're the judge today, so you decide what you should get there. Next, to find, this one is a classic, time below water or something like that. So I'm just going to show you, obviously your window, you want to adjust it, and so you let y2 equal to 0, and you can pick any dip you want. You want here, or do you want here, or do you want to even extend it even more? But you got to find a dip below the y equals 0 line. And then just subtract the 2 times you find. Regardless of which dip you picked, you get half a mark for the first time, half a mark for the second, and then you get a full mark for actually subtracting. Okay, so you get 0.5, 0.5, and then 1 mark for subtracting. That's usually how the province sees this. They could have also asked how long above 0, let's say, within one cycle. Then you would have wanted to subtract this one and this one, right? Because whatever happens between those 2 times is what you're finding. And there would be above, okay? So that's one thing you need to remember. And then last but not least, how high was the paddle when the ride started? It's at time 0. So you were 1.52 feet negative or 1.52 feet below water. Either one is fine. And this one is going to be worth 9 marks because I went ahead and changed A to be out of 3. So just make sure you change yours to be out of 9. Okay?